Let me begin with the remembrance and salutations to the Gurus. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Sabhaye Namaha, Sabhasadbhyo Namaha. At the outset, my gratitude to Vinayji, Yogavijnana Foundation for this invitation and also for giving me the freedom to choose the topic. Upanishads are very close to my heart, so he allowed me to pick it and present it before you, and I'm very happy and grateful for that. I also need to add that he has been relentlessly pursuing me for nearly 4 5 months now. Somehow, due to various reasons, we were not able to do and it kept on getting postponed. While that was happening, he never gave up and he has brought me here. So I'm again grateful for that. So when I think about this topic, life lessons from Upanishads, there are two significant words here, life lessons and Upanishads. Before we go to the first part, that is life lessons, maybe we can spend a little time in the second part, that is Upanishads, try to understand what do we mean by Upanishads, where do they come, where do we locate them, and having an initial introduction, then we'll go, why are Upanishads so important? I often feel this, that most of us today, we may not be familiar with Upanishads. Nevertheless, the way Upanishads have influenced Indian mind, Indian psyche is something of unimaginable magnitude. There are certain ways we think, there are certain ways we act, there are certain ways we be and behave, and they have been certainly influenced, inspired by the Upanishads. No doubt, whether we know Upanishads or not, it doesn't matter. The Indian psyche has been touched and transformed so immensely that when you start reflecting on it, you feel, wow, what are these thoughts which are so potential, so powerful that even after thousands of years, they carry this kind of transformative potential. That is the power of the Upanishads. Swami Rangnathananda, one of the previous heads of Ramakrishna Ashram, probably many of you might have known him or heard about him, was a great master of our modern times, a wonderful orator, a man who had not left anything unread. That was his scholarship, and also his ability to present that scholarship was very unique. He has written books on Upanishads, he has written books on the Gita, but he has a very short introduction to the Upanishads. I think it's called The Power and Charm of the Upanishads. It's a very powerful, probably around 50 pages or so. This is an introduction to his book on Message of the Upanishads. It's a must read for anyone who is born in this part of the country, anyone who is born in this part of the world, or for anyone for that matter. This is a must read. Message of the Upanishads. It goes detail into three Upanishads, Isha, Kena, and Katha. And as an introduction to this book, you find this, The Power and Charm of the Upanishads. I mean, this is just one of the books, but if you look at the wise men and women who have been greatly influenced by Indian thought, both in the East and the West, if there is one source they point towards, which has such a kind of power in it, that has always been consistently Upanishads. Why is it? Why do we hold Upanishads in such a respected space, probably we'll try to explore that. So this is an attempt. I'm very happy and very pleased that Vinay is doing a great service to this field, because I have never come across anyone presenting the Yoga Upanishads. There has been consistent attempt here at Yogavijnana to present all the Yoga Upanishads, which are 20 in number, and also bring them out in terms of chanting it, explaining. So it's a very unique offering that is happening here. We'll also see how these Yoga Upanishads uh, connect with the principal Upanishads. So we'll look into those things. So quick overview of the positioning of the Upanishads. As we all know, the source of Indian wisdom comes from the Vedas. And that is what we attribute to anything that we hold as sacred, anything that we hold as special, anything that we consider to be the droplets of wisdom, we somehow find its sources in the Vedas. The very word Veda comes from the root with. With root has three meanings. One is to know, knowledge. So that's how it gets its name. But it's not the only meaning. The other meaning is to obtain something that you get or you receive. And last one is even more beautiful, to be, vidyate, asti, something it is. So, in simple words, it means the knowledge that one needs to acquire and live that knowledge. So, it's not knowledge something that you cognitively know, but something that should translate into your experience and life. In fact, in one of the places, Shankaracharya makes it very clear in his introduction to the Brahma Sutra. He said, Brahmagya Anubhava avasanatvathi brahmajnanasya. The brahmajnana, the so-called highest form of knowledge that we speak about or refer to, should finally culminate in one's experience. Anubhava avasana. If it doesn't culminate in one's experience, it is no knowledge at all. I might as well throw it into dustbin. This is the distinguishing characteristic of Indian thought. How do we differ from the Semitic religions and the Indian lived traditions? This is where it makes a huge difference that for us, while belief is there, could be there, but I cannot limit everything to belief alone. What I consider to be the highest, it should somehow reflect in my life. I should be able to experience it. We will see this idea more and more as we go deeper into the Upanishads. So, this is the idea that is there right from the first part of the Veda. So, that is why the definition of the Veda is the highest form of knowledge that needs to be obtained and lived. So, that is Veda. Generally, we know that Vedas are classified into four, which are these ones: Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda. Excellent. Each of these four Vedas are again classified into four volumes within each one of them. What are they? Samhita is the first portion, Brahmana is the second portion, Aranyaka is the third portion, Upanishad is the fourth portion. So, four Vedas, four portions in each. So, this becomes 4 into 4 matrix. When we say Vedic corpus, this is what we refer to. There are Upanishads belonging to Rig Veda, there are Upanishads belonging to Yajurveda, there are Upanishads belonging to Samaveda, there are Upanishads belonging to Atharvana Veda. Each one of the Upanishad, each one of the Veda has its own set of Upanishad or Upanishads. The Upanishads that we find very clearly as a part of these 4 by 4 matrix is what we identify as the principal Upanishads. There are references to multiple Upanishads. There are some references which say 200 Upanishads, some references which say 108. There are Muktiko Upanishad lists all the 108 Upanishads. Okay, but out of these 108, 10 Upanishads which you can very clearly identify this into the 4 into 4 matrix, are the 10 principal Upanishads. And they are also attributed or called so because most of the acharyas who came later, they have commentated upon each one of them, whether it's Shankaracharya, whether it's Madhvacharya, whether it's Ramanujacharya, Vallabhacharya. Most of the acharyas starting from Shankaracharya, if they had to present the Vedic thought in a new light, the first source that they were using was the 10 Upanishads. So that's how, if I have to establish something, I'll have to establish in the consent of the Vedas. And when I say Vedas, particularly the Upanishadic section. So therefore, these 10 Upanishads have been considered to be the 10 principal Upanishads. And which are these? As you would be familiar, Isha, you can repeat it after me. Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taitiriya, Aitareya, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka. The last one, saying it itself is like doing an asana. So these are the 10 principal Upanishads. And the Upanishads vary in size significantly. Generally, Isha is considered to be the smallest Upanishad. It contains about 18 verses. But in actuality, it's Mandukya Upanishad, which is the smallest. It contains only 12 verses. But normally, we study Mandukya with a set of other verse commentary called Karikas, which runs into few hundreds. Therefore, it's not such a small Upanishad after all, because we always study it with the verse-based commentary. In that way, Ishavasya Upanishad considered to be the shortest because of the 18 mantras. Uh, I remember someone who had made this statement, whether it's Rabindranath Tagore or someone belonging to the Brahma Samaj long time ago, that if everything in the Indian literature is lost, everything is forgotten, if only the first line of the first verse of the Ishavasya Upanishad remains, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam. Even if this much remains, it's good enough to revive the entire wisdom of the Indic tradition. So that is the potent of these sections. So coming back, these are the 10 Upanishads. Each of these Upanishads acquire their name basis the first word of the first verse. As we saw in Isha Vasya Upanishad, the first verse is Isha Avasyamidam Sarvam. Which is the first word there? Isha. So the whole word Upanishad is called as Isha Vasya Upanishad. Similarly, Kena. Kena gets its name because the first word of the Upanishad, first verse of the Upanishad is Kenedam Preshitam Manaha. Compelled by whom does my mind go to its objects outside? So that is how Kena, by whom has it been pushed? So that's how the Kenopanishads are. Katha is called Kathopanishad because it comes from in the tradition or in the branch of the Katha. Perhaps that was the name of the sage to whom these mantras were revealed. So that is why it could be called Kathopanishad. Prashna, again, interestingly, this is also one of the characteristic of the Upanishad, which I want you to make note of. In this Upanishad, about 6 people, some of them are kings, some of them are sages, they all get together to discuss some important questions that are bothering them. Then they realize that it's not good enough for them to discuss them. They might have to know a lot more. So they approach Sage Pippalada. When they approach Sage Pippalada, he says, very good, you have very pertinent questions and these need to be explored, but maybe you have to spend 1 year in the Gurukulam doing your respective chores here, someone taking care of the kitchen, someone taking care of the Goshala, someone doing something else. After 1 year, if you still have questions, you can come back to me. So after 1 year, again they meet. and they had these questions burning brighter now. So then they go to Pippalada again and they ask questions. And the response to these 6 questions is presented in 6 chapters. So therefore, this Upanishad gets the name Prashnopanishad, because the whole Upanishad precedes with a question, each one coming with a question. And for the students of yoga, why is it important? It is in this Upanishad, the roots of pranayama, the understanding of prana as a concept is explored here. Pranasyedam vashe sarvam tridive yat pratishthitam. One of the most fundamental verses that we recite or understand, explore in and while practicing or before practicing pranayama is this mantra, which says, Mateva. Prana is like a mother. Like a mother protects her children, it is prana that protects and sustains this body. Therefore, prana is so important. And then it also explores the functions of prana, the different kinds of pranas. So a lot of roots about prana, exploration of prana appears in this Prashnopanishad. I have not gone into the subject of the other Upanishads, but just using this opportunity to say its relevance for students of yoga. Prashna. Then Mundaka. Mundaka means someone with a shaven head. Perhaps it refers to a monk, a sannyasin, who is supposed to be like that. And the nature or the reason why it might have been given here is that for the sannyasins or for the monks, general upasanas are prohibited. They're not supposed to do the upasana of any god or any form. For them, it's only Omkara upasana. Omkara is that potent sound. Omkara is a combination of a, u, and ma. A is the first sound that the human vocal cord can produce. So my whole sound producing technology unfolds between these regions, from the throat to the lips. The first sound is a, the last sound is u. Of course, when I close this, it's ma. But u is the last sound, it's a labial. This is the guttural a. And if I move from a to u, the central sound is o. So O represents anything between O to A and O to U. That means O is one sound which captures the entire range of sound that the human vocal cord can produce. And this is the only space between A to U that I connect with the world outside. Anything that I have to communicate, anything that I have to transfer happens between the sound range between A to U. Therefore, just one sound, if it has to reflect that entire range, O is that one sound which in a way connects with the universe within and without, and Ma brings about a closure. Therefore, Om is considered to be such a potential sound, and the Omkaropasana is presented in Mundakopanishad. Of many things, there are many other things comes. I'll come to some of these topics a little later, but I'm just giving you a summary of some of the important things. Probably some might have seen this imagery that is presented of a bow and an arrow and Brahma as a target. Okay, this imagery comes in Mundakopanishad. Pranavo dhanusharo hyatma brahma tallakshya muchyate apramattena vedhavyam sharavat tanmayo bhavet. Pranavo dhanuhu. Pranava is the dhanuhu, that is a bow. Sharo hyatma. Shara is arrow. Soul or the self is the Atman, the individual. Brahma Lakshyam. The target is Brahman. If I have to reach there, the most potential support I get from where I can take a leap is Pranava. Like the arrow takes the support of the bow and takes a leap towards its target. In a similar way, the Atman or the self will take the support of the bow and reach its target, that is Brahma. So this is one of the important mantras that appear in Mundaka Upanishad. Isha Kena Katha Prashna Mundaka Mandukya. Mandukya, as I said, contains only 12 verses. It pushes us to explore dimensions which we may not have considered much. All of us feel that this is the normal state of consciousness and this is what is universal. But it asks us this question, is it so? In our modern current usage, we use the words like ordinary consciousness and altered state of consciousness. When you're behaving in a normal man, normal in the sense, in the day-to-day transactional world, transactional consciousness is called normal consciousness. If you start saying, if you're a regular meditator, you feel a sense of connection, and then you say, I somehow have a very strong connection with me and this mic or this wall. I see myself extending into these spaces. People will call you as someone with alternate consciousness, some issues, right? This Upanishad really makes us question what are the different states of consciousness that we are familiar with. While we assume that this is the only thing, it says, have you explored it further? What is happening here? In the normal state of consciousness, there is a degree of awareness, there is a degree of freedom. Freedom or limitation. I'm here at this place. I'm here with this name and form. I'm here with this particular capability or absence of that capability. There are certain conditions under which I operate. I can't escape it. Okay. I need to be here. Now I'm here. Simultaneously, I cannot be at home. This is a condition, it's a physical condition that I am limited to or subjected to. Upanishad says, hold on. While this is true, just think what happens to you in your dream state. When you're dreaming, do you have awareness? Yes, there's some degree of awareness there too. Tell me the degree of freedom that you have there. Is it same? So you might be sitting here, all of a sudden, next moment, you might be flying here. You might have taken a jump from the second floor and be landing in an ocean. You do things which you're not trained to. You you would have capabilities which you can never imagine of, right? The degree of freedom that is experienced there, that is completely different. And mind it, while it is happening, it's absolutely true. Imagine there is a snake coming there and you're looking at it. Are you not frightened in your dream? There are dreams when you feel someone has passed away, right? It's such a painful thing. You're really undergoing that pain. And there are also physiological changes that are happening to your body at that moment. If someone is after you, you're struggling, you're trying to shout. There are physiological expressions of these experiences too. So the experience is real. The degree of freedom is much different than what it is in the waking state. It is, there is one more dimension to your existence, that is your dream state of consciousness. This is not alone. Upanishad says there's one more where you're in a deep sleep state. You have slept fully. There is no dream also at that point of time. You're going through that. And only when you wake up, you realize you slept well. Sukham aham aswapsam na kinchid avedisham. Sukham aham aswapsam. I slept very well. I enjoyed the sukha while I'm sleeping. If you say, while you're asleep, I'm sleeping well, what does it mean? You're not sleeping well. It's only when you wake up, you realize, I'm full of energy. I feel fresh. That means I slept well. So Upanishad says, this is one more dimension here. Look what is happening. Here, all the limitations that you had, your name, do you carry your name in your deep sleep? The pressure of your office, the pressure of deadlines, or anything else, exams, homework, whatever it could be, whichever age that you belong to, your health issues, none of these matter in your deep sleep. It's almost that they don't exist. All the limitations seen in other ways, all the limitations that I hold normally, they're cast off. I just merge into that infinite. But the problem here in this dimension is I'm not aware. So, degree of freedom, that means the limitations that hold me, they are not at all there, but awareness is also absent. In the first one, limited degree of awareness, limited degree of freedom. Second one, limited degree of awareness, greater degree of freedom, dream state. Third one, no awareness, much larger freedom or liberation from limitations. Then Upanishad says, while these three are the ones that you undergo normally, there is a fourth dimension to your existence where just imagine, I mean, just as a thought, if you're told, imagine a situation where in these combination, you have high degree of freedom and also high degree of awareness. It's such a powerful state, right? To be in absolute awareness and absolute freedom. What a dream state to be in, right? So Upanishad says, yes, there is such dimension to your existence. While all these limitations, all the labels that you carry, all the limitations attached to these labels are bothering you, while it is true, there are other dimensions too, where you need not be limited by these. That is the fourth, Turiya, it says. It gives name to each one of them. Okay? The Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupta, and Turiya. There is a fourth dimension that we can all live. That is the promise that Mandukya Upanishad brings. I mean, just as a thought, I find it such so empowering and reassuring, right? Otherwise, we normally act with all these labels and we take these labels so seriously. If I'm a boss in the office, I carry that attitude even to home and make hell out of a home, right? I might be in the military for so many years served. I might be a colonel, and even after retirement, I feel I'm a colonel at home. Only that the sipais were listening to you there. Here, no one listens to you, and you cause to their problems. They add to your problems, and all of them suffering. Right? The labels every time they become so important. One of the important message life lessons that the Upanishads bring is don't be limited by labels, whatever labels they might be. I'm male, I'm female. Yes, there are certain tendencies, there are certain functionalities attached to them. No doubt they're part of your waking state identity. But should you want this limitation to hold you for long? Should you want this to keep you in ransom for all the times to come? Not necessary. You don't have to be that. Similar way, it just constantly pushes us to see where my action is emerging from. Is it emerging from the label that I carry or from a deeper state of being from where I can act? Lot of ego clashes that happen in the offices, in any space for that matter. Recently, we were doing a workshop for one of the uh, government companies just last week. So when all the program was almost completed and we were having the last session on work-life balance and we were having an open house after that, there was one common concern for most of them. This was the executive level personnel. They said, all that you say is good. We also somehow we understand or we know them, but I think you should do this program for to our bosses. They should understand these things. Yeah. Yeah, there's no way we can teach them, but probably what emerged there was whatever might be what experience we might have received. Can I put a break to this so that I don't let this experience go to the next set of juniors, right? If I realize that I don't have to act from the label of a general manager or something and just act as an individual, then perhaps I will not carry on that pain or transfer that pain to the next generation. So coming back, a lot of pain and suffering will surely be avoided if we can look at life situation, that where is this action coming out of? Is it coming from the label that I carry or from the depth of my being? It might not be easy. None of these things are easy, right? Even in asana is not easy. For me, initially touching someone's else's toe is easy rather than touching my toes, right? But you have teachers like Vinay will push you to, you don't have to touch other people's toes. Well, it's good. You don't have to do all this drama, nautanki. You just practice your own, right? They'll people will push you. So when that is possible, this is definitely possible that constantly, if I can bring awareness as to where is the seat of action coming from. So this, most, when I'm saying pointing to one particular Upanishad, these are a general message of all the Upanishads. Most of them carry, but there's a highlight in each one of them. So, four states of consciousness is the core subject matter of Mandukya Upanishad. Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taittiriya. Again, beautiful set of Upanishads. There are multiple topics there, but a few of high importance. The name comes from the branch to which it belongs to. Taittiriya Shakha is the name of the branch. So Upanishad appearing in the Taittiriya Shakha is called as Taittiriya Upanishad. One of the characteristics of Upanishad, which I did not mention earlier, but mentioning it now, is most of them are brought about in the form of a conversation. Okay? It's a conversation between son and a father. It's a conversation between teacher and a taught, as you saw in the Prashna Upanishad. Okay, six of them having a conversation, then going to their teacher. Similarly, or as you see later in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it could also be a conversation between husband and wife, or conversation with the king and his subjects, or king and his the gurus in his council. So this is how most of the, or one of the most beautiful uh, conversations which I skipped for that time being is the conversation between Yama and Nachiketa that appears in Kathopanishad. Right? So in the Taittiriya Upanishad, we have Bhrugu and his father, Varuna, having a conversation where he wants to know what is the ultimate reality. He goes to his father, says, I need to understand this. The father says, good, you have come of age. Because you're reflecting on these questions, you have come of age. I want you to find it out for yourself. So he comes back, Satapotapyata. He starts meditating, reflecting on it. Then he realizes the body is the truth, the physical, material, which is there because I act from the physical. So this dimension is the ultimate dimension. He goes back to his father. Annamaya Kosha is the absolute reality. Father says, good, you have begun well. Why don't you reflect further? So every time, father keeps on pushing him to reflect more and more. So second time he comes back, there's something more subtle to the body. What is it? Then he realizes it's prana. If prana is not there, how will the body be active? Hmm? As long as prana is there, it is Shiva. The moment prana leaves, it is Shava. Right? That's the only difference. Till that point, you say he is there. The moment prana escapes the body, it is there. Right? The personal connection is also lost. Then that is the body. That's how we refer to. So what animates the body? It is the prana. So prana is the ultimate reality. Without prana, nothing exists, nothing animates, nothing is made dynamic. So it's because of prana. He goes back to his father. Father says, good, think further. Because what could be more subtler than prana? Right? Then he says, while prana animates things, where is prana getting its source from? If I have to go and go from here, of course, the hand is picking it up. But who is pushing it? The pranic forces. But even before the pranic forces begin their operation, where did it all begin? It began in the thought. What actually moves the world? It's emotions. Right? I want to do something. I want to change something. Where is it coming? From the seat of emotions, from the seat of thoughts. If that is not there, nothing would have happened in the world. This morning, I was attending an event of a very close acquaintance who has been serving a handicapped person for 40 years. So that a book was published in his honor. It was called as Hegalu. The man is on whom he's serving is on a wheelchair, and he has been very well known in academic circles, and he has contributed a lot, including the national education policy, done the highest things that one can do, received a Padma Shri last year. So he has reached the heights. Physically, if you look at that body, you feel, I mean, with all the limbs, we sometimes feel so limited. But what pushes such people? It's definitely not the body. Of course, prana is pushing them to go beyond. But where is it coming? It's coming from that mind. So, manomaya kosha. What actually animates or pushes prana is also the manas. So, he goes and says, Manas, I have found it out. Father says, good, you're almost there. Why don't you reflect further? So, he comes back and starts thinking, it could be more than the mind. Where? Okay, mind is where you have your thoughts, your emotions. But they're also limited. It's mostly transactional that comes here. Is there something more subtle than this? What about intuition? What about creativity? What about an act of art? All of us see a stone there, but it's only the sculptor who knows there's a beautiful idol behind that stone. When that Ram Lalla was put up there, or any beautiful vigraha that you see in any of Hoysala temples, what exquisite beauty is there, right? Someone could see that when that entire stone was there. Those of you who have been to the Kailasha temple in Ajanta Ellora, how many of you have been there? Someone could see from the top that there is such a beautiful temple that can be carved out. They say 20 lakh tons of stones were removed after chiseling it out. So someone could see that, right? Whether it's a small vigraha, the Brihadishwara the Nandikeshwara in the Brihadishwara temple, 25 tons. That is the weight of that Nandi there. One monolith. But when they brought it, it must have been a huge ball. Someone could see, if I chisel out these unnecessary elements, a Nandi will emerge. Where is this vision coming from? It's coming from an intuition, a deeper mind, uh, uh, completely different layer which we seldom have access to. But when it comes, there's something. And a creation of poetry, a creation of art, anything for that matter, it comes from a layer which is deeper than the ordinary transactional mind. And that is called as Vijnanamaya Kosha. He says, this is where it begins, deeper than the ordinary mind, the higher mind. He goes to his father. Father says, excellent. Okay. But still, just think, still, if you can see some more. The son comes back and starts, I don't see anything. It's the higher mind. That's intuition, whatever we call Vijnanamaya. What can be more deeper than that? It's fine, even this through intuition or anything that we do at the five levels, what are we doing? What is that we are ultimately trying to get? What is that we are ultimately trying to get in everything that we do? Experience. Okay. Why experience? Why am I, if I ask this question, why am I doing what I am doing? I'm in a job. Why am I in my job? I get my salary. I mean, if I enjoy my work, that itself is the end. I enjoy my work, therefore I am there. Or if not, if I am not enjoying my work, I get my salary. Why salary? I'll be able to fulfill my needs. Why am I fulfilling my needs? I can keep my family happy. I can keep myself happy. Right? So finally, if I push 3, 4, 5, 6 questions beyond, ultimately it comes to seeking happiness. There's nothing more. Through all our acts, if there is only one thing that we are pursuing, knowingly or unknowingly, is to seek happiness. If it gives me happy, I'm willing to do whatever. If it's not giving my happiness, I don't want to continue it. If I'm still continuing, there might be some compulsions, and I'll continue till these compulsions exist. The moment compulsions are over, I will not be pursuing it. And happiness. Then the question is, why am I seeking happiness so badly? Why? Why do I want it? What do I lack? When do I seek something? When do I seek? When do I search for something? Huh. When do I search for something? I search for something that I have lost. When I say I have lost, by implications, it means I had it. I had it at some point of time. I have a faint memory of its presence, but for the moment, I'm not able to experience. Somewhere, I'm missing it out. Therefore, every cell of my being is yearning for it because that is my nature. I started from there. I'm missing it out. I need to go back to it. Happiness, Ananda is my nature. Bhrigu realizes this and he doesn't even go to his father. It's always when you are in self doubt, you need assertion, affirmation from outside. When you're so convinced by your experience, deeper experience, experiential understanding, you don't need any affirmation. Right? You might put up a post on Facebook, it doesn't matter even if one person likes it, you are happy with it. But if you are not happy, you go on visiting it, see how many people liked it. Because you need affirmation from outside. But if you are so convinced experientially from inside, you don't even seek affirmation from outside. It is there, it is your reality. And that's exactly what you see in Bhrigu. So, this idea of happiness, today, it's a very big topic and taken in all different directions. Okay, this has been one of the core quest of our sages and our ancestors. What is the essential nature of human personality? What am I seeking? Why am I seeking this? What is happiness? Within Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a section called as Ananda Mimamsa. Mimamsa means the study of happiness. Right? Today in economics, today in sustainability thinking, happiness is a big question. Therefore, you have these happiness indexes. Unfortunately, India comes in 128. I don't know how they do these indexes. They're pathetic in themselves. And even comparatively, like if you just look at our own neighbors, they are doing much better in that index, only in that index. Where it's Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, they figure somewhere high. Finland is consistently on the top. Number of suicide, Finland is on the top. Switzerland is on the top. There could be climatic factors there, but there's something else that is seriously missing, something that is seriously missing in these indexes too. We were working on the concept of happiness. There's a book and a paper, couple of papers that we have published on happiness, and we see in not a single discussion, the Indian thought has been brought out. This was one of our seniors, mentors, Vidyanand Shanaiji. Probably you might have heard his talks. They were very popular. He passed away a few years ago. His talk called as Bharata Darshana. Like wherever you are, he'll just give you that entire country's vision, how Bharat Mata expresses herself. It's a beautiful talk. If you have not heard, it's a must and should for every Indian, and especially those who are in uh, from Karnataka and those who speak Kannada. It's a great treat the way he presents. He says in his talk, if any book of history of importance, if reference to India and Indian thought has not been present, it only means two things. One, people who have written are highly ignorant. They have written these books. Or someone has torn two pages in that book. Okay? Intentionally torn or kept it aside. Right from the Upanishads, if there is one question that our ancestors deeply asked, inquired, contributed to is about this Ananda. And you don't find it any of these texts. This is the pain that we have. I mean, we have presented in this paper also, and there's a book called Happiness Indic Perspectives. Intentionally, it has been kept out because the thought is no match. There is a paper published by one economist called Argyle in 1986. And he says, what are the determinants of happiness? Look at Ananda Mimamsa of the Taittiriya Upanishad. It starts with this line, Yuva syat sadhu yuva adhyayakaha ashishtaha dridishtaha balishtaha tasyeyam prithvi sarva vittasya purna syat sa eko manusha anandaha. The attempt to define one unit of human happiness. Sa ekaha manusha anandaha. Manusha, human. Anandaha, ekaha. What do I mean by one unit of human happiness? The same factors that are mentioned here, Argyle mentions in his paper in the year 1986. It's considered one of the best papers in understanding happiness. The first word, it's us. Yuva syat sadhu yuva adhyayakaha. Yuva, youth is a factor contributing to happiness. That is the physical fitness. Adhyayakaha, education, someone who is well read. Another factor that determines your experience of happiness. Ashishtaha, someone who has good aspirations in life. Driditaha, someone who is uh, focused, who has an idea of purpose in life. Dridishtaha, balishtaha, one who is equipped with the right kind of skills and energy to pursue those happiness. Tasyayam prithvi sarva vittasya purnasyat. Here it really extends it quite a bit because the purpose here in the Upanishad concept is different. It says, imagine this kind of a person has enough wealth to pursue his wishes. He's young. Again, when I say he, it's includes she also. So don't ask me why she is left out. Okay. Yuva Adhyaya, someone who is well educated. Ashishtaha, someone with good aspirations. Dridishtaha, someone who has a clear cut purpose in life. Balishtaha, equipped with right kinds of strength and energy, skills to pursue that. And he or she having enough wealth to pursue that. All these determinants is considered to be, the presence of these determinants is considered to be one unit of happiness. And then it goes on, says, imagine if this is multiplied by thousandfold. And that too for the people who are not limited by greed. I mean, this is a adjective that it keeps on bringing again and again. Imagine someone living like that and he does not have a greed, and that happiness is multiplied by thousandfold. That is next level Ananda. Now imagine the next one. So it says in this way, Pitra Ananda, Daiva Manushya Ananda, Deva Ananda. And then finally it says the highest one in this order is Brahmananda, and that is you. What is your nature? This is precisely you. Somehow I have lost it. My each cell yearns to be there, go back to that. That's why all this restlessness, while on one side it might appear to be transactional because there's something I need more money, I need more position, all this it is true. But even if I explore it, where is the root of this restlessness? The restlessness is all coming for the realization of that highest, because I have lost it, right? So this is one idea that has been singularly pursued across all Upanishads. What is my true nature? Ramana Maharshi, when people approached him with a lot of questions, in most of the cases, when they took a long question paper and sat with him or went to meet him, the questions vanished. Somehow, all of them have written about it. We went with these questions to ask him, but the moment we saw him, we were in his presence, the questions vanished, or as though these questions were answered. Or in some cases where people articulated and presented before it, right? Ramana Maharshi said, good, it's a good question, but just tell me who is asking this question? Who is asking this question? So again and again, he was bringing the focus back as to where it is coming from. Who is asking? Who are you? What is your nature? Self-awareness, again today considered to be one of the most important element of emotional intelligence, which is an important aspect of leadership. Okay, even in modern management science, the idea that is presented there is the most important element that needs to be there for someone to be in the position of sustained leadership position, that is emotional intelligence, and the important component of that is self-awareness. Do I know myself well? So this is another pursuit, important pursuit of the Upanishads. Who are you? Who am I? Is the single most important question that is being asked again and again. Why? Because everything precedes from that. The Keno Upanishad, I didn't go to the detail then, but if I have to present it here again in this context, fine, I understand the world the way I receive inputs from my senses. I see someone as tall, someone as short, someone in some particular complexion. All these are fine, right? And this is how I conceive what the reality around me is. But Keno Upanishad asks this question: have you thought much about it? Is this really true what you have conceived about the world? You think you're understanding the world, but now tell me, how capable are your senses? You understand the world outside with the inputs your senses are providing you. What do you see? You see the range between Vibgyor, from the violet to red. The only frequencies that come in between is what you see. Below violet, after red, you don't see. Does that mean the object exists or not? Does the thing exist? Spiders realize that it's going to rain much before it rains. How do they get this information? What we don't get? Birds, when they build their nests, assuming probably the rain season might start 3 to 6 months later. But when they build their nest, as looking at where they have built the nest, you can predict whether it's going to be a good rainfall or scanty rainfall. If it's more to the edge of the branch, it means it's going to be scanty rainfall. If it's more close to the central axis, then it means it's going to rain heavily that year. What would unfold 3 to 4 months later, you have birds understanding it. You can call it intuition. It could also be that there is another dimension of information input, right? Just imagine if I have a different kind of eyes. Instead of these normal eyes, if I have X-ray eyes, how do I see you people? Or imagine someone of a marriable age and they have to choose their life partner and both of them are blessed with X-ray eyes. How would they choose their partner? Will they look at the beauty of the skin? No. Probably they might choose someone with a larger cranium, assuming there might be a better brain there, right? So the beauty is skin based, and if I have different kind of perception, this doesn't matter at all. So all the idea that I have constructed about reality there is only with the inputs that my senses have provided. If there is a slight alteration of the input capacity, if my hearing capacity is changed or not limited to 20 decibels by 120 decibels, imagine I can listen something below 20 decibels or beyond 120 decibels. If there is an earthquake, seismic wave happening somewhere, I can sit here and I can already find out, there's something shaking in China. Just with change in sensory inputs, my idea of reality, my idea of beauty, my way of transaction with the world changes. So, Upanishad again points to the fact that all the reality that you have so far conceived is not only this, there's much more to it. And you being the witness of all these things, you perceive from your position. If anything changes here, there's the big change that happens with the understanding as well. So this is another idea that comes often, that the reality that I'm familiar with, I should not be limited by that, because the senses have limitations. The ultimate reality that I'm speaking about, or my essential nature that I'm speaking about, cannot be expressed. Again, the beauty here is it may not be expressed, but it can be experienced. Upanishads again and again, yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha, yataha vachah nivartante, where words retreat, because they can't experience it. They can't express it. They can't reach, even the mind cannot express it, because this is much deeper. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to give this example often. He used to say, when I try to understand reality with my limited notions, it is just like a salt doll trying to measure the depth and vastness of an ocean. Okay. The moment you jump into that, what happens? You lose your identity. You dissolve into it, but still you become one with it. So the depth of the ocean is your depth. You can experience it, but you cannot express it. For expression, you need to keep your limited identity for expression to happen. But to experience, you have to give up that limited identity. Okay. Therefore, reality that we are speaking about is much larger than all these things. Realize your true nature. So self-awareness, questioning about the capability of the senses, bring the focus back on myself or the self again and again, and also presenting before us the nature of Ananda that we are pursuing as not something that is there outside, but there is something that is there within all of us. This is the content matter of most of the Upanishads, whichever Upanishad you take. The way they present is beautiful. So Taittiriya finished. Taittiriya, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka. Okay. Two, I will take it together. They are much. Oh, there's one more Aitharya Upanishad. Maybe I'll spend a minute there and go to the other two ones. And with that, I conclude. Aitharya Upanishad, belonging to the Rig Veda, it has many important things. But one idea that I often am fascinated with is this. It takes up the story as to why this human form is so important. While this idea comes in many places, for those who are familiar with Viveka Chudamani, it in the very first few verses is human form is so important because here where I can do the sadhana. Or in the Gita, it says you have Swarga Loka, you have other lokas. But when you acquire merit punya, you might go to the Swarga Loka also. But Kshine punya martya lokam vishanti. After your account or whatever you have, the balance that is there is exhausted, you'll have to come back here. The progress is possible in Manushya Loka alone. The other ones are your rest houses. You go there and you come back. If you really have to get out of this trap, then it is through the Manushya life itself. So these are the ideas that come often. But there is a very important dimension that Aitharya Upanishad brings. Why? What is it? And it brings out to the story. So this is another characteristic of the Upanishad. The one I said is dialogues. Okay. All have wonderful dialogues. The other one is stories. Each of the Upanishads takes up a story. Mostly. There is no story in Ishavasya Upanishad. That Kena has, Kata has, Prashna has, Mundaka there is no story, Mandukya there is no story, Aitharya there is story, Taittiriya there is story, Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka is full of stories. So here the story goes like this, that there is the supreme self or Brahman, someone, the big boss. Okay, he has assembled all the gods, and then he is creating various forms, and he is asking the gods, maybe you want to inhabit this, maybe why don't you enter this. While different forms were being shown, the gods were saying no. So he put up a form of a snake. The god said no, we will not enter. He put up a form of something. They said we will not enter. So they kept on saying no, no, no. And God also was doing best with his creativity, the supreme being. Then finally he created the form of the god, form of human. And even before he asked, the Upanishads, they all jumped into that. Huh? And why? That's the most beautiful part. It says, Brahmavaloka Dhishana Manisham Mudamapa Devaha. Devaha entered this form because they felt, this is a form which is evolved, which can reflect back into its origin and realize that I can realize my true nature in this form. Other forms, while they are good, they have their own purposes to serve. There are certain things that are missing. The capability to self-reflect. This is the biggest achievement of the human form. While the whole Upanishadic understanding does not keep the human being above in an exploitatory position, as it is understood in many other schools or traditions. You are there because you're intelligent, you can manipulate everything, you can extract resources. Therefore, since you're intelligent being, you are on the top of the pyramid. No, that is not the idea here. In that way, there's no difference between me and the amoeba. But where is the difference? Upanishad says still there is a difference. And what is that difference? The difference is that this form has the reflective capacity, reflective intelligence, whereby I can reflect on something. This is missing in animals. Animals cannot. While they can understand you're scolding them, I mean, dogs do understand when you scold them, or even many other animals. Cows have that sensibility. So many animals have those sensibilities when you're scolding them because they realize there's something wrong that happened or something that their nature was not up to the expected mark. They realize to that extent. But ability to bring that spotlight on their nature. How did I live my day to day? Is there something that I can improvise upon? Is there something that I can change in my behavior? All these things is possible only in the human form. There's a beautiful verse of Subhashita which says, Pratyaham pratyaveksheta narashcharitam kinnu me pashubhistulyam kinnu satpurushairiti. Pratyaham pratyaveksheta. Every day, a human being at the end of the day should reflect on this. What is this? Kinnu me pashubhistulyam kinnu satpurushairiti. The actions that I did today, how many of them match actions of noble people? How many of my actions match that of animals? Did I live my day as animal? Animal in the sense, again, not derogatory, but someone in not reflective capacity, someone whose emotional uh, outbursts are not controlled. Okay, did I live like that? Or did I live like, if there are 10 actions that are visibly coming in front of me significantly, how did I fare in this 10? 5, 5, 4, 5, 4, 6, or 6, 4, whichever way. Again, not being judgmental, but just to reflect on that. That reflection itself is one of the most powerful tools for self growth and transformation. There's nothing more powerful. If growth is what I'm seeking, transformation is what I'm seeking, the only tool that is so powerful and effective is reflection. How often do I reflect? What triggers my anger? All of us have anger issues to varied degrees. I may not be able to overcome it quickly, but at least if I know, the trigger is coming here. There are certain words, if they use, I get triggered. What is the pattern of my getting triggered? What is the pattern of my stepping out of this? Someone might require absolute silence. Someone might require an outburst. Someone might require a stop of relationship for a short while. It could be anything. Can I understand my pattern? Reflecting on your patterns, because each one of us are bundles of patterns. Nothing but patterns. My interaction with the world happens in patterns. Many times we ask this question, why is this happening to me again and again? Right? You get into a relationship issue and the same kind of problem emerges often. There's a pattern that is unfolding. Can I realize, reflect on my pattern? Unless I reflect on my pattern, there is no way I can get out of this pattern. Whatever my sankalpa might be, however hard I might try, again, it's like the dog's tail. It comes back to its original position. Unless I realize it. What happens is that if I don't realize this pattern, but still want to overcome, not being able to overcome, then guilt, frustration, many other negative gravitational forces start operating on you and pull you downwards. This is the spiritual frustration many of us feel. Oh, I'm trying, but I'm not growing. Probably this path is not worthy of pursuit. No, something is amiss there. I'm not realizing that pattern. Relationships would be much better if I understand the pattern. What How am I interacting with the other person, especially with spouses? What is their pattern? Where is my pattern? How is it overlapping? What is causing this trigger? Understanding this whole exchange in uh, patterns will give you that, which will empower you. Initially, you may not be able to deal with it. You realize that pattern, but you still go through that. But the constant spotlight on that, reflect on that, will empower you at some point of time where you can already see it coming. See, when it has come, in Yoga Sutra, we call it as you have the four stages in which things unfold. Okay, when we are discussing about kleshas, klesha, tanu, vichhinna, udara. When it's udara, full blown stage, I can't do anything. But imagine there is a anger trigger that is happening, and you realize it 10 points before it actually has taken over you. That is where you have power to stop it or slow down. Okay, the simple technique that people suggest is, okay, maybe you start counting 10, you start counting 15 before you react or reflect. That is true. That is a practical tool. But what you are actually doing is you are creating that space for reflection. So, reflecting on my pattern, and all of us are patterns. So, reflecting on it will empower us like anything to deal with situation. And these are the issues that we face in the transactional world. It's not about the spiritual world I'm speaking about. It's here and now what actually triggers things. Anger is just an example. It could be a whole lot of issues. Ego issues, anger issues, frustration issues, boredom issues. So all these are easily recognizable patterns. What triggers them? How I do enter it? How do I exit out of it? It used to happen with a close colleague that I used to work with, and it took us a long while to realize this, and it has been so good once we realized. We were conducting workshops together, and both of us come with a completely different approach. I am a more bottom up approach. I just keep my space limited and try to do eh, address the issue from my limited space. And this colleague, she used to come from top down, like a much larger picture and then coming. So in any workshop that we were planning to do together, each of us had different positions. Somehow it didn't match. And there were occasions where we used to just had a shouting and then go and sit and teach. And then also sometimes once such flare up happened, the issue was how do we get out of it? Because we have to work together. There's no option there. We were working together. The issue was somehow I felt the other person is not helping me. And the other person also felt similar. I would prefer someone talking to me after such a flare up. So therefore, I expected the other person to speak to me. And the other person never came. The other person I realized, or when such issue, I used to proactively go and talk to that person, and that person did not feel it was helpful. She was avoiding. It was much later we realized that the pattern I required was someone speaking to me after that issue. The pattern that she required was silence. So her not coming to help me was the way she felt that she is helping me, and my going to help her was causing her more problem. So these were different kinds of patterns. With good intentions, we were causing pain to each other. And most of the cases, this is what happens in relationships. With the best of intentions, we hurt the closest people, right? Not understanding the patterns. So if I can reflect on the patterns, initially I might not be empowered to deal with it, but at least I know this pattern is outplaying. After some time, I'll have enough power to deal with it. So realize your pattern is another thing. And Aitara Upanishad, where it says, Brahma Valoka Dhishana Munisha Mudamapave Devaha. Because in this form, you can reflect and understand all these things. The other forms are not evolved to that extent where they can reflect. So this is one important idea of many other things. And coming to Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka, it has a host of stories. Again, in Chandogya, there is a place where Narada goes to Sanat Kumar and says, he gives a long pedigree. He says, I have studied this, I have studied this. Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and all the other texts I have studied. But still, he says, yet shochami, I'm still in sorrow. What is the nature of happiness? Why I'm in sorrow? So this question again starts. I'm mentioning it to point that happiness, understanding happiness is one common subject of all the Upanishads, irrespective of which Upanishad it is. And this is where one of the most beautiful statements of Chandogya comes out. Yo vai bhuma tat sukham na alpe sukham asti. Any expansion is the expression of happiness. Any contraction is the manifestation of sorrow. And that is how it happens, right? When body is unhappy or when I am body curls up. There's narrowing down, contracting of everything. The possibilities I see are limited. When I'm frustrated, when I'm depressed, I don't see any possibilities. But just imagine the day I'm so happy, elated. If this is not working, this will do. This is not working, that will do. Mind itself opens up. So any opening up, any expansion, any extension is happiness. Any contraction, any coming closer, closing down of things, it says is dukkha. Sukha and dukkha. Even the words are so beautiful in Sanskrit. Sukha. Kham means space. Su means expanded space. A large, extended and expanded space is sukha. Dukkha. Kha. Space again. The contracted space is dukkha. It's a beautiful way, a spatial way of understanding sukha and dukkha. Why do you prescribe some of the asanas, like for someone who is an introvert, someone to himself? What are the kinds of asanas that you generally suggest? The back bends. You're expanding. When psychologically you're closed, body also curls up. So you know that relationship. You're trying to work the reverse way. Okay, let me see opening up the body and see what kind of impact it has on the mind as well. Right? So yo vai bhuma tat sukham. And the statement na alpe sukham asti. In mean-mindedness, there is no happiness. Alpa. You can never find happiness whatsoever when you start thinking in the closed mind. It's a very powerful statement. And it is here in this Upanishad itself. I have not referred to in the other Upanishad, but here you can come across one of the Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi. You are that. The highest that we speak about is nothing but you. Realize it's you. I know there are coverings, I know there are layers after layers, but if you start removing them, peeling them off like the layers of onion, finally you have that simple presence. And rest are all labels. Incidentally, they are with you. That is not your essential nature. Your essential nature is different. So this is again of Chandogya. There are multiple other stories, multiple chapters, and Brihadaranyaka also is quite voluminous. This is where you come across the conversations of Yajnavalkya, Gargi, Maitreyi, such wise men and women. When Yajnavalkya says, I need to go on a spiritual pursuit, I will distribute my property between my two wives, you between Maitreyi and the other one, you please choose. Then she asks, fine, you want to give me something? What property will you give me by which? Enaham amritasyam, by which I can attain immortality. Yajnavalkya is shocked. He never expected that kind of a response. He thought they'll be happy with the distribution and then he can leave. But that's where the conversation goes. And a very powerful statement, utterance comes there. Sarva Atmanastu Kaya Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. Everything becomes dear for the sake of the self. I'll not go to the explain, but this is again one of the powerful statements. So this is another characteristic of the Upanishad. There are powerful utterances often. Each Upanishad is a bundle of such powerful Upanishad. The moment you read, you will get goosebumps. If you look into Kathopanishad, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Viran Nibodhata, the statement that Vivekananda quoted often, Uttishtata, rise, Jagrata, awaken, Prapya Varan Nibodhata, go to the wise and learn from them. Kshurasya Dhara, Nishita Duratyaya. The path that we are speaking about is not for the uncourageous, not for someone chicken hearted. Okay. This is Dhira. It's only the courageous man who can walk this path. And this is the path like a razor's edge. Shurasya dhara. Shura means a knife. Dhara is the edge of it. This is where there are great movies as well as poems written in Hollywood or published, produced in Hollywood. The Razor's Edge. This is a poem inspired by Kathopanishad. This particular verse. Okay. Walking on the razor's edge. And there's another beautiful statement between couple. I mean, of all the Upanishads, I am biased towards Kathopanishad, so I'll end it with that, where the story of Nachiketa is there. Again, it's a beautiful, powerful context where Nachiketa sees something that his father is doing is not up to the mark. He thought he held his father in high esteem. He's gifting away cows, and these cows are old. They're almost about to die. This pains Nachiketa anything. How can my father do this? The giving away of the cows is contextual, but this is a universal expression that can be seen at any point of time. Complacency of people. You are an important man in the society. You have come the long way, but then you start taking things for granted. That's exactly what Vajashravas, Nachiketa's father, was doing. He was a great man, no doubt about it, a pillar of the society. Yet, at some point, he had taken things for granted while he was distributing the gifts, where people really had come to take these gifts. He was gifting away old cows which are in the last leg. And it's a very difficult position for those who receive. Like, you can never pass it on to a butcher, not even today, and forget about those days. What will you do? They are not reproducing, they're not giving milk, they're not even eating, and they're not even drinking. So, such old cows were being given away. 8-year-old boy, Nachiketa, looks at his hand, it pains him. Why is my father doing like this? He's such a knowledgeable man. I mean, why? So, he goes to his father and he says, you seem to be unmindfully giving away things. To whom will you give me? Father ignores him once. The boy keeps on insisting. Father says, what does this 8-year fellow knows about it? He pushes him. But the boy doesn't stop. He keeps on insisting for the third time. Father gets angry. Just as a fit of anger, he says, Mrityavetva dadami. Translated to our language, go to hell. Huh? This is Mritya. I'll give you to Yama. You're insisting, so I'll give you to Yama or someone of these times, go to hell. Don't disturb me now. The son takes it so serious. I come from a family. I mean, he's not just my father, he's also my teacher. When he has uttered these words, these need to be followed. I also come from a family where the words are held with high respect. So I can't just let go of words like this. What should happen? Then I need to go to Yama. He goes to Yama. And again, this Upanishad brings many interesting situations. It's quite natural that Yama is continuously on his rounds, right? He doesn't wait there. He goes knocking the doors of people. He often has a situation where someone is waiting for him. So he goes there. This boy is waiting at his door, and Yama is doing his rounds. For 3 days, Yama is not there. So when Yama comes back, he feels sorry that this young kid is waiting at his door for 3 days and 3 nights without having eaten anything. So out of compassion, he says, "Let me give you three boons. Seek." And first one, even though he gives three boons, in the first one itself, Nachiketa asks for a combo pack. He says, "My father should receive me happily." So he has already asked that he should go back, which is unusual case. And he has also asked that his father should be happy out of anger and all his wishes fulfilled. The way he did the yajna, his wishes would not have fulfilled. But now he's seeking that as a special boon. So all Yama grants it. Then he asks for some other ritual. How do we do this? Yama teaches him, and he learns it so fast that Yama is pleased. He offers a bonus boon there. Henceforth, this knowledge will be known by your name, Nachiketa Agni Vidya. Then third one comes. And that's where the Upanishad takes a different turn. It says, Ayam Prete. I have heard some people say there's something that survives the death. Some people say nothing survives the death. Please explain this to me. And you should see Yama's response there. Baba, why are you bothered? Even the gods are confused. They are merry making in their swarga. They are happy there. They also don't think about this. Why are you asking it? Please ask something. And you should see the response. The first line is same. Nachiketa says, gods are confused, others don't know. That's precisely why I'm asking, because this is your portfolio. No one else better than you can know this. Then Yama starts dissuading him in all possible ways. This is not interesting. This is not necessary. Why bother with it? But still, I'm happy to keep my promise. Ask for something else. But Nachiketa says, no, I want this. Then Yama thinks probably when I say ask for anything else, he's not understanding it. Let me make it explicit. He says, I'll give you a good spouse. I'll give you a large kingdom to the extent that you can't take, you can imagine. I'll give you a long life. You can see your great grandchildren happily living that extent life. Again, there's one verse translated to this times. It means I'll give you a Lamborghini or a very sophisticated vehicle with sophisticated music system and people to accompany you, go on rides. That's exactly Sarathaha, Saturyaha with band system. That's what he says there. So these things are attractive at any point, I think. These times or the past times. At some point, Nachiketa is fed up. He says, if you ever honor your words, I want to know this and this alone, nothing else. The way he speaks to Yama, a 8-year-old boy, Nachiketa stands out like an anything. Nothing dissuades him. I mean, at some point he says, see, I'll give you all sorts of sense indulgence. Ask for it. You just need to state it. I'm more than willing to give you more than that. Just express it, he says. Whatever you are promising me, Sarvendriyanam Jarayanti Tejaha. At the end of the day, they're going to deprive me of my energy. This is exactly what happens if you go on window shopping in malls, right? You just walk looking at these colorful, glittery things. At the end of the day, you come tired. Indriyanam Jarayanti Tejaha. The tejas of all the Indriyas are sucked like vacuum cleaner. Okay? So he says, no, what you are promising is no good to me. If you ever honor your words, Varanam, this is the only Vara that I seek. If you have any self respect, tell it to me. Yama, at this point, this is the Shishya I need to have. So then the teaching starts from the second section on. Beautiful verses after verses, imageries of this is a third character. I said dialogues, stories, imageries. I just saw one imagery somewhere. Okay. No, not here. The inverted tree imagery, okay, which is quite often you come across in many spiritual contexts, or the imagery of the Ratha. There are 5 horses, the chariot, and the person, the master of the chariot. The symbol, the dramatic expression is Mahabharata war. You have Arjuna in the war field, you have Krishna as a charioteer, and the horses there. That is a dramatic expression. Other places you see a symbolic expression of it, right? That appears in Kathopanishad. The inverted tree, where the shoots and branches are downwards, the roots are upwards. The root are upwards because you come from that source Brahman, and from that singular source you are branching out. That is the shoots, that we are the individuals branching out of that source. That imagery again comes from Kathopanishad. There's another beautiful imagery, with that I'll conclude, which is again common in both Mundaka Upanishad as well as Kathopanishad. Tva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. You might have again seen this. These have given great uh, intuition, or rather inspiration to artists who come across, who present them in a very creative manner. There's a tree, and on the tree, 2 birds are sitting. One is sitting in a lower branch and eating the fruit, and there's one bird that is sitting on a higher branch and just observing. Okay? Dwa Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. So 2 birds in a tree. What does it symbolize? What does it symbolize? What could it be? Beautiful, powerful imagery. That is the expression of the self. The tree is the body. The bird that is eating the fruit is eating the fruits of its karma. That is the involved consciousness. There is one who is at a slightly higher branch and just observing it. That is the witness consciousness. So Upanishad gives you an opportunity and an offer to say, you can be in the involved consciousness and go through the whole drama, or you can step back and be the witness consciousness and observe how things are unfolding. Hmm? I don't know how it happens now, but earlier, like I was familiar with in the computers, you had this master port and the slave port. If you plug into the slave port, your expression, the possibilities were limited. If you plug into the master port, probably the permissions and the possibilities were much more there. So which one do you want to plug it in? Do you want to plug it into a witness consciousness state where you're observing but released from the drama that is unfolding, or you wish to plug into the involved consciousness state where you're going through the drama? Always we have a choice. While we might say, no, I am limited by it. Yes, you might be limited by the circumstances. This is how the whole world is. I have very little control over things outside to me. Yet, in this space too, I have a choice between where I want to plug myself, involved consciousness state or witness consciousness state. This is what uh, DVG has so beautifully put across. In the Lokadata, in the game of this world, you need to make two rooms. One is the veranda where you entertain everyone and you let them pass. But you don't live in the veranda, you live in an inside room which is not bothered by things come and go. What does Zen Master say? Zen Master say, the thoughts are your guests, they visit you. But just because they are visiting you, it doesn't mean that you need to serve them tea and hold them for long. They have just come, let them pass. Okay, don't hold them. So all wise masters have spoken about it, and Upanishads present it in a very powerful imagery of the birds. Or for those who are familiar with Viktor Frankl, who has written the book called Man's Search for Meaning, who was a psychiatrist who underwent 4 concentration camps, lost every near and dear one, his parents, his wife, he lost everyone there. While he was there, he was also observing what is happening to people and how these people are behaving. And there he says, you can take everything away from human beings. That's what happened in a concentration camp. Their clothes were taken, their dignity was taken, their names were taken. They were just made to stay in a 4 by 4, no, 2 by 2 hole, horizontally. That was their bathroom, that was their living room. And people were stacked one above the other. All that they had were numbers. And the numbers were being called out only when they were being sent to the gas chambers. No dignity, nothing. He says, even here I have seen people behaving like pigs, people behaving like angels. 99% of them might have behaved like pigs, but at least 1% of them behaved like angels. They gave away their last piece of bread to the other so that the other person survives. If one person can do, that is the human possibility. Every human can do it. Therefore, he says, you can take away everything from a human being, but the freedom of choice, whether you want to be in the involved consciousness state or you want to be in the witness consciousness state. You can consciously plug yourself to the higher peg. You don't have to be here. You will still undergo the same things, but the suffering will be limited or negated by thousandfold when you plug it into the witness consciousness. Navigating the challenges of life becomes much more easy. It's not that the difficulties will subside. No, they are bound to be there. They are going to be there in abundance. Yet you will have an anchor, a strength holding on to which the navigation will be much easier. So, in Vivekananda's words, to conclude, if there's one thing that Upanishads provides us, it is strength, strength, strength. That's what he says. It's Upanishads are the sources of strength. They'll help you realize what your true nature is and your involvement in the world transaction to alter significantly. So resilience, awareness, anchor, strength, these are the boons that Upanishads bestow on us generously. There's no other literature of the world which is so powerful. Every Indian must read it, either in original, if possible, in original, if not at least in translation. The language is also simple. And to summarize, last one line, there are many ways which has influenced, but I normally tell this to our foreigners. The foreigners never understand our head nod, the typical Indian head nod, right? For them, it is yes or no. It can't be either. For us, it's this. It could mean yes, no, could be, not sure, possible, not so possible, I'll try. All these shades are here. Only Indians understand when Indians do a head nod. When someone says like this, they go, probably, it could happen, it may not happen, depending on the speed of the nod, the directions of the nod, which foreigners fail to understand. For them, life is in black and white, either here or there. But normal life doesn't unfold in black and white. Life unfolds in gray area. Our ability to reconcile and handle and deal with opposites is great. Westerners cannot do that. Right? That is, I say, also comes from the Upanishad. The one of the few verses from the Ishavasya Upanishad. When it's speaking about the nature of reality, it says, it is here, it is there. It is something that is stationary yet so dynamic. The way we can handle these kinds of extremities, the way we can handle the gray area in between, the way we can navigate our life in such kind of uncertainties. Why do Indian leaders are leading over most of these big companies today? And this is called as VUCA world. It's volatile, it's chaotic, it's uncertain. Right? The ability of our people to handle this situation is much better. And this also comes from the Upanishads. You see? It gives you good anchoring, whether we know the Upanishads or not, whether we have read them or not, our life has been modeled on that. Many things, all matas of this land have been influenced. Whichever mata, Vaishnava, Shaiva, this, that, Sri Vaishnava, whatever matas, even Islam has been modified. The Sufi actually emerged out of that. And all that modification, inspiration, influence came from the Upanishads. Seek the truth, experience, base everything on your experience, not just on belief. I think the biggest contribution to the world thought that Upanishads have offered us. Experience, experience, experience. Finally, touchstone of everything is your experience. Can you experience this? Experience matters. Go beyond beliefs, go beyond the mathas, go beyond the pathas. What comes to your experience is ultimate. So, in this way, a lot of things that we are beneficiaries of comes from the Upanishad, and therefore we owe a lot to the Upanishad, and therefore only kritagnyata that we can express is by studying the Upanishads and transferring the knowledge of the Upanishads. So with these words, I once again offer my gratitude to the Guru Parampara and all that factors and forces that facilitated this interaction and exchange. I'm sorry I took much more time. Uh, thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing a beautiful insight about Upanishads. ಹೇಗೆ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇರುವಂತ ಪಾಠನ ನಾವು ಅರಿಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಸರ್. ಆದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಯಾಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಯಾವುದು ಕೂಡ ಎಲ್ಲಿನೂ ಬರಲ್ಲ. 20 ವರ್ಷ ಓದಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಯಾವ್ದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕಲಿಸ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿಂದೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾರತವನ್ನ ನಾವು ತಪೋ ಭೂಮಿ, ಪುಣ್ಯ ಭೂಮಿ, ಜ್ಞಾನ ಭೂಮಿ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇರುವಂತಹದ್ದೆಲ್ಲದೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಗ್ರಂಥಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ವೇದಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಉಪನಿಷತ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲದೂ ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ. ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಕಲಿತು ನಮ್ಮ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಕೂಡ ಅದನ್ನ ಪಾಸ್ ಆನ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಈ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಯೋಗ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಿಂದ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ವಿಚಾರ ಸರಣಿಯನ್ನ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋದು ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಎಫರ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ kudos to you, sir. Thank you so much. And I request you to come up and say and give an out of thanks. Thank you so much, sir.
So it's actually my pleasure to listen to Dr. Vinayachandra because I was just in my own, you was created a magical word spell on all of us. So because it was so wonderful to listen to your lecture, I don't think anybody deviated their attention anywhere else apart from what he was. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's how beautifully everything, every word that he chose, it was so well chosen that probably no other word could convey the message in the better way. That's how beautifully delivered the lecture on Upanishad. Thank you so much for accepting your invitation from Yogavijnana Foundation to come and to us. And I've seen him from quite some time, and we are associated for a few years now. And he does a lot of things, and he is an inspiration for a lot of the people in the yoga community itself. Because the kind of activities that he takes up, that he does, even whether it's reviving IKS or conducting a lot of seminars in the field of yoga itself, including the one which is upcoming in the month of December. Because Mysore Yoga Utsava, which he does every year, which is from Indica Yoga, and he is the one who takes the leadership for organizing that. So this year, again, the third edition of the Utsava is happening. It's again a beautiful concept where it's an experiential learning for a lot of seekers of yoga itself. It is happening in Mysore. Request you to take part in it. Those are attending online also. So it is happening 4 days in the month of December,
18 to 21st.
18th to
21st
21st of
December.
December. So it's so wonderful. I was been there for last two Utsavs also, and it is really uh, uh, it's something which you become a student there. Even though whatever as a teacher, everybody comes there, but everybody is a student there also, and that's how the Utsava happens actually. Because there's no Guru Sishya and all of those things. Everybody is a student there. So that's how beautifully the Utsava is organized. So I request you to all look into the website of the Mysore
Mysore
Yoga
Yoga.
Utsava online and take part in it, register as well. So and so definitely, I hope this lecture has inspired at least something in you to go and look back Upanishads, to study Upanishads. So if that has done, I think that has done the job. Even if you spend a few minutes every day to study Upanishad, then this 1.5 hours of lecture has done the job there. Okay.
And Upanishads, you don't have to study in one go. Just take a verse, few verses every day or whenever feasible. Just reflect on it, part of it, whole of it. Even one verse would do.
Very true. Very true. And in the even in the reading space also, we have almost all the Upanishads here, all the at least the main Upanishad that he has mentioned. So even if those who come to the center, every day you spend reading one verse out of the Upanishad which you liked from whatever the he has given a beautiful introduction to all the Upanishads now, what it contains. So what you should look into the Upanishad. So whatever you connect with the most, you pick it up, you just start studying at least one verse per day. You can just think of it that way. So probably that itself will help you to finish the Upanishad probably in a few months itself, one Upanishad at least. Okay. So with that, we just want to give a small token of our thank you for Dr. Vinay Chandraji. A small thank you so much. Thanks a lot. All right, thanks to all those who are attending online, who have joined from across the world. And also, I want to inform about the next lecture in the series. It's going to be happening by a very good friend of Dr. Vinay Chandraji, Dr. Jairaman Mahadevan. I think he is again a phenomenal speaker. Most of you who attended teachers training course at Yoga Vijnana will definitely know him. He gives a lot of guest lectures here. So he's going to come and lead the lecture on 2nd of November. It's again a Sunday, same time, evening. So because we could do this lecture series online also, it is a very common option now. Everybody wants to do lectures online. but this the swarm that we have, and we all
energy.
it's a different kind of energy when we sit in front of a teacher like him and just absorb whatever he teaches, right? It is more than the words, it's the presence of the teacher, it is what is important. Okay, that's why we definitely don't want to take this particular series, of course we are offering online, but I request everybody to come offline. So the reason is, it's more than the words, it's the presence of a teacher itself is more important. Okay, that's why this one series we have kept it offline, as much as possible. Try to come offline itself. So the next one, 2nd of November. So see you all at the next Yoga Vichara series. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for joining. Thank you.